Hello, my name's Imogen. I'm the organiser of the meetup group. I'd like to tell you a little story just to illustrate some of what we do and what we learn about in the group. It's a story. I had a friend at work who had a male relative who accidentally killed his wife. He was under the influence, he had Alzheimer's disease, and he lashed out against his wife at one fateful day, and she died 3 days later from the injuries. And at the point I was talking to my friend, 3 years had passed, and it was this male relative's funeral coming up. And she was just up in her head and worried and concerned and kind of going over and over in her head what could happen at the funeral. Could the wife's family now go on the attack? How would she defend the memory of her male relative? You know, and all this, she was being quite dramatic about it. And I just told her that they calmly, sweetly, that was all. She was making that up. She was making up scenarios in our head, as we all do, and she was believing them to be true without any evidence because it hadn't happened yet. And she needs to go in there and see in that moment what the situation was and react to it in that moment without any preconceived ideas. Because all those preconceived ideas will be wrong. And you can shut down and go at things in completely the wrong direction because you've predetermined that something is going to happen when it isn't. Now, she seemed to get like a mini insight on that, a mini little breakthrough just on that little subject. And she was 10 minutes late off the motorway, trying to get to the funeral. And she said that would normally put me in a real panic. And it didn't. This time she stayed calm. And she went to the funeral. And it was a really lovely funeral. And the wife's family were very sweet about the man who died. And possibly if she'd been up in her head, she would not have seen that. And that is a small example of what we do. Because we spend our lives inventing lots of scenarios and getting really, really up in our heads and anxious about things often. And we presume all sorts of things are going to happen and pre-prepare. And all of that matters of thinking, by the way, puts a physiological strain on the body, reducing your immunity, making you more inclined towards what gets called mental illness. And all of that goes on. And we don't see through it. And what this understanding does, we keep pointing out the role of thought, that in between kind of everything there is a bit of thought where I see somebody who I've seen before and I bring up all their history in my mind and therefore have a dim view of them, even though they're going about their own business, perhaps, being perfectly normal and happy. And there's so many ways in which we have all of this baggage we have, and we invent more of it over and over again. And what this understanding does is help you see through it and see the world as it is now in this present moment. Okay? You get a variety of feelings, but you know that they're just thought passing through. And you don't have to build up these huge scenarios of stress and panic. So I hope you'll come to our group, not just watch videos. I hope you attend, because that's where we do the main part of our kind of role in helping you see a clearer, less anxious, less depressed view of life. So I hope you'll join us. And thanks for listening.